Here we are. We've arrived at fuck love. And I know this probably isn't you because, well, you're here to embrace love and to find love that fits and to rekindle or kindle, find that perfect relationship for you. But this here has everything to do with where you're going, who you're going to attract, and how to get to the places that you belong. So with this slide, there's a couple things that are going on here. You're going to need to make notes in your journal. Now, we're going to explore your past relationships. And if there were more than one, I want you to write down in your journal a bullet point list of what those relationships had in common. Maybe they were full of adventure and fun and road trips. Maybe there was just a lot of intimacy and romance. Maybe it was sex driven, or maybe it was, that young love. So whatever the commonality in your past relationships was, make a bullet point list that you can see it very clearly of what the relationship was based on. That will help in the future of what you're looking for. Then I want you to journal how you felt in the relationship. Highlight the good parts of the relationship and what you enjoyed most. So if you loved going on those picnics, or you loved those road trips, or you loved waking up next to somebody and moving in with somebody, or that they helped you with the laundry, or whatever it is, maybe you guys used to eat Chipotle every single day and that was your thing, or tacos. Whatever it was, make sure you write it down and highlight what that relationship was making you feel like and the good parts. But then I want you to contrast that by doing another list, which is the lowlights, what that relationship made you feel, and certain things in that relationship. Like, he used to always call me a bitch, or he used to get mad if I talked to other men, or he would always get jealous when I would ask my mother questions instead of him, or go out with my girls. Whatever the case may be, it's the lowlights, the things that made you feel less than amazing in the relationship you're in. Some of these might be extremely detrimental to a relationship, and some of them might be just normal quirks and peeves that people normally would have. But that's the difference, is what is normal to you and what you are not looking for. Okay, that will really help you identify here coming up. Now, next, I want you to look for patterns of both the good and the bad. Patterns are very telling. Make a list of these patterns. Okay, so again, like let's say every January you would get in a fight, or after Valentine's Day, or every Christmas, or every time there was a birthday or holiday. Make a note of these patterns, because that will help you to determine which months you can be more alert and aware that perhaps something in your new relationship might unfold, or that you are being hypersensitive to everything that is being said during that month because that happened in your past relationship. I'm going to give you a really off example, but it relates. I used to get in a car accident every January. It made no sense to me, but in 2014, I got in an accident, totaled my car. And then the grace of it all was I went and got a new car, an even better car, the car I wanted, leather seats, sunroof, fully loaded. I was like, all right, you know what? This turned into a blessing for me. So I'm just one of those people that's like, okay, you take the bad. Yes, it sucked, but something better's coming. The universe has my back. And it did. But then I got in another accident the following January. So the third year, I'm like, all right, it's January, February, nothing's happened yet. I am bracing myself. I'm checking twice. I'm, trying not to drive. If it's raining, I'm not going out. I don't care how hot that party sounds or where I was invited, or, hey, will you come to this radio show? I'm like, I'm really sorry. I can do it remotely. I'm not driving. Because I was hypersensitive to the fact that, hey, I know my patterns. So there's cyclical things in nature that happen in each of our lives, and it's taking an inventory. For about probably 10 years, on my birthday, something would always go wrong. Every single birthday, to the point that I stopped even caring that it was my birthday or having any kind of expectations whatsoever. I learned that, hey, I can expect a downfall, but everything usually resets for me in May. So March to April, I was like, not so much. But I knew something good would happen in May, June, July. So that's an example. And I know that's not identifying with relationships, but that's personal to me. So if I'm in a relationship and some dude tries to do something super, super, super nice for me on my birthday and it all falls to shit, well, now I've kind of projected it onto, well, he should have been able to fix this and he didn't. Or I was being so negative. Now he feels like he was trying to counterbalance the fact that I told him something always happened on my birthday and he failed. Now that makes him feel bad and me feel bad for feeling bad. And it just, it's too emotional, whatever. So client of mine, she always met people in March and April. By the way, that's spring break. Don't know if you put those two and two together, but birds and the bees, spring break is when people meet, and then that summertime fun love comes and boom. And then by October, you're done. And then you're moving on to a new strategy and a new holiday season of love. So that was her pattern. And without fail, even after she ended up getting divorced, because she married that guy who she had met on a spring break that one year. But after her divorce, she started seeing every year she would meet that same thing. And then she started noticing another pattern. She'd always meet somebody in August. So whether they were stray off the street or somebody who was really charming and romantic and worth a date, or just somebody that would be like hitting on her and she's like, no, thank you. Please stop showing up in my Facebook, my Instagram, and all that good stuff. It would happen. You have patterns. And some of those patterns are relative to only you, and some of them are relative to your prior relationship. So if you had fallout during Christmas every year and you were married for 20 years, that's going to be a significant pattern. Maybe every time y'all had money, you'd go on this great, expensive, elaborate vacation, and it was great. And you're like, oh my God, we finally fixed our relationship. And then you come home and there's bills or there's some kind of surprise. So that might be a trigger or a pattern for you that's not based on a cyclical calendar, but it's based on, financial rewards. Or maybe when there was no money, that's when things would fall on hard times and there was so much stress and something would happen that way. Everybody has this. So if you have an ex, then your ex has patterns. And even after divorce, sometimes we have to deal with those patterns. So recognize and start to separate out what those patterns were. Just take a good look at your relationship and days that you're not looking forward to, or days that you're trying extra hard to make meaningful and special so that you can counterbalance. That anxiety exists within us, and sometimes it lays dormant and it's just going to sit there. And then when we think everything's fine because it's not the ex and we're on to something new and everything's great and hunky-dory, boom, something happens, trigger, done, and now we have all this anxiety. So we're going to let that go. I'm going to give you another example so that you can really fine-tune your list and understand your patterns, and then we'll move on. So phones, okay? So I have like this phone here. And when I go on dates, I always put my phone face down. I do it out of respect for my date because I have ADHD. And if my thing is buzzing and going off, or I see little things on the screen, I will stop paying attention to you and I will be looking at my phone. I think that's rude, but I do need to have my phone with me. It makes me feel secure and more confident. And I'm just not putting my phone away entirely on a first or a second or a third date because it can go to the side, but I have children, that kind of thing. Okay. Well, I was with someone and we had been dating for about 6 months, 6 months at the time. And we were like super close. Like we had been friends first and then we were just hanging out more and more and more. So we were on that trend. Well, he had been cheated on. I've been cheated on. We've both been married. The whole thing, spouses cheating. I mean, that's just detrimental and betrayal. You go through that and it's really painful. Well, he called me out on my phone being face down one day and he was like, oh, because, you got all your dudes that you don't want me to see. So your phone's always face down. Like I didn't notice. And I thought, oh my God. I said, is that why you really think my phone was face down? Absolutely not. I said, my phone is face down because I cannot focus on you if the screen is going off. And he was like, sure. And I was like, well, I'm not going to show you my phone. I have a bunch of dudes, but you also know that I'm here with you. So those dudes, they go away based on my relationship with you. That changed the dynamics. And that is something that we just worked through. And eventually we got well past that stage and we were, oh, here, can you do something on my phone for me? And, vice versa, him to me. So the phones became a non-issue because it was reconciled. But I was creating that trigger in him, not even realizing it because I was trying to be respectful. As you go through your list, I want you to notice those certain things that would just set you off so that when it comes up in the relationship, you can identify it, clarify it, and resolve it. Identify, clarify, resolve. We're not going into therapy with this exercise, okay? This is just basic surface level, okay? No rabbit hole of doom here. Now, the next on the list, ask yourself such things as, was your ego in the way of these relationships? Did you have too high expectations? Was there a specific event where things fell apart? If so, was it something you could have controlled? So with something like this, a lot of women tend to say, oh my gosh, if I was more fantasy or if I was into role play, he wouldn't have left. If we could have had better sex, if I could have cooked better, if I could have been more nurturing or a homebody more, if I could have. Listen, it's called a breakup because it's broken. It is my firm belief that, spiritually, you are not connected to this person anymore. You should not be connected to that person anymore if there was in fact a breakup. Like I said, it's called a breakup because it's broken. Now, that doesn't mean two people can't reconcile, but obviously you're here because you want to move on with your life. You do not have to change who you are. You should always bring the best version of yourself to the table. However, when we're dealing with our past issues and our past relationships and taking a good hard look, it is important for us to recognize, was our ego in the way or was it a personality conflict? Because different personalities, they don't jive together the way that we all think that, we can just come together and get along. We can get along, but it might take some understanding and some exploration of their personality and yours. Dominant personalities with someone like me in a relationship that's romantic setting wouldn't be the same as two dominant people going neck and neck. Two dominant people can argue back and forth, but a dominant person to me, if there's conflict, I'm going to step out and say, when we can have an educated conversation or discussion about this in a calm manner, then we can talk. But I'm not getting into it with you. That Italian moxie that I used to have in my past marriage, where I could stand up for myself and be like, who are you talking to? I don't bring that anymore because I don't need to. My power comes from within. That's the difference between personality sets. And in fact, I just did a masterclass on this. If you're interested, reach out to me and I will definitely connect you with that class because it is all about personality styles and how we relate to one another. But our ego and our pride and you're not going to do this to me, so I'm going to do this to you first. You're not ever going to cheat on me, so I'm going to go cheat on you first. You're not going to set boundaries on me, so I'm going to tell you what you can do. That's a little bit of moxie that does not belong in this relationship. Ego just has to be put in check and go. It needs to move to the left. That doesn't mean that sometimes our ego wasn't absolutely crushed. And if your ego was crushed, I'm truly sorry for that. But there are things that happen that have nothing to do with us. We're simply innocent bystanders. And I want you to fundamentally understand that because a lot of times we just get wrapped up in someone else's issues and it has nothing to do with us. So as you're looking at your insecurities, as you're looking at your past relationships, I am insecure because I thought I gained too much weight and that's why he left me. You need to identify that and call it out. Call it like you see it. If he said, I'm leaving you because you're fat, well, first of all, it's probably a bunch of bullshit. Second of all, just acknowledge it so that you have the list to go off of so you know where to move from, okay? Last but not least, take the time to process the past. If you do need therapy, I am not a therapist. I am a coach. I am here to help you get to your goals. We're going to acknowledge your past and then move you forward. But if you have been a victim of domestic violence, if you have been through some serious trauma in your life that these triggers are just all over the map for you, therapy is a great place to go, and I would absolutely recommend reaching out to a therapist to help you process that information. Because a lot of times what happens is therapy and coaching can work in tandem where you're moving forward because I know, your therapist might not know, but I know that you're on Tinder in the middle of the night. I know that you're telling your therapist, no, I'm not ready to date, I'm all good, but that you're on Bumble getting hit up and, oh my God, good morning, gorgeous, and hello, beautiful. I fucking know where you are because I lived it, and that's why I coach. But my point is you can have both. You can be processing and also exploring and experiencing your life at the same time. So there is no shame in that. I do not shame or fault anybody for that. And that's why you're doing this work guide today. Letting go of the past will help you with self-love. Once you come up with the insecurities list, final thought here, I want you to go back to your self-love pages and everything that is absolutely amazing about you. Read your love letter back to yourself. Because working through the past it is kind of sucky, and it does make us feel vulnerable and sometimes sad. However, when you're done with your list, which is absolutely crucial and important, or I wouldn't have included it, read your love letters, recognize how beautiful and amazing you are, and you've got this. And we're going to get you to the places you want to go so you can feel confident and secure with the next person that you're with. All right, cheers. I'll see you soon. InvincibleVictoria@gmail.com if you need me.